to me, like, talking about ICE shootings, listen, okay, this is where like my personality conflicts a little bit with my job, because, and I feel the same way about covering Israel, where like the morality of the situation is so clear and my position on it is so clear that covering it feels to me like you watch it and it's like, wow, that's really bad. I know. Yeah, ICE gunned down 2 more innocent people, one yesterday. There's videos of it. Yeah, it feels like there's very little to say. There's more than ever to talk about and so little to say about it. You know what I mean? Really, really, really bad. Though apparently this has led to enough of a backlash, the Trump admin has ordered ICE to suspend most vehicle stops. That's interesting. That's actually a pretty big... They clearly don't want a repeat of what happened in Michigan. Remember that what happened in the Twin Cities ended up like demolishing the Trump administration's credibility and popularity with pretty large demographics of the population. Minnesota.
Protests have erupted in Maine after an immigration and customs enforcement agent shot and killed a motorist on Monday. It's the second time in a week that ICE has used deadly force, and at least the 9th death tied to the Trump administration's immigration crackdown. The Department of Homeland Security said agents were surveilling an address for a person with a final order of removal from the country. When ICE tried to stop a vehicle coming from that address, DHS said in a post on X, quote, "The vehicle attempted to flee the scene, and fearing for public safety, an officer discharged his weapon." Video from a... Same as always. My understanding is that the Trump admin isn't even like really trying to defend themselves on this one. After like Renee Good and Alex Preddy, they were like, oh, they attacked us, we had to defend ourselves, blah, blah, blah. But it seems like they're dialing it back in this case, which makes sense because, what's his face? Greg Bovino and, what's that stupid bitch? The fucking cowboy lady. The one with the fake face. Christy Noem are both out. So I'm assuming that the fact that they were both removed is evidence that the previous method of handling ICE murders was not favorable to the administration. In this case, the person they killed wasn't even the person they were looking for. So same situation as always, right? You're a regular guy in a car. You've just like said goodbye to your 3-year-old daughter or whatever. And then a bunch of jacked up thugs with guns out show up and start surrounding your vehicle. You know, they barely identify themselves. They're all dysgenic. So you floor it, or like at least try to move the car a little bit, and then they, who are not in any way threatened by your movement, fucking shoot you and kill you, you know? Classic shit. Fat fucking chud fail sons getting their kick killing people. Security camera shows a white vehicle approaching an intersection at a modest speed before making several slow circles. A law enforcement SUV then blocks its path, and 2 officers open the driver's door, dragging out a limp body. Immigrant rights groups... Oh yeah, they fucking handcuffed him after shooting him in the head. ...identified the man who was killed as a 26-year-old native of Colombia.
I watched a wife fall to her knees looking at her husband's dead body on the ground. I watched a little girl crying with a little pink backpack on because she's never going to see her father again. And I heard the anguish of a mother that just lost everything in her life. The officers involved didn't have body cameras, leaving many questions surrounding the circumstances of the shooting. Fascinating. It's not yet clear how close the officer was to the vehicle when the officer opened fire, whether officers told the driver to stop, or how the public may have been in danger. The community is left demanding transparency as federal immigration tactics face intense scrutiny. Thank you. Very neutral language, as always. This happened in Maine. Not to get too cynical with it, but obviously this looks pretty bad for Collins. There were a bunch of protesters outside of her office. Is Maine a blue state? Not really. Nah, it's a purple state. Collins definitely gonna lose. Hold on, buddy. We don't even have Troy Jackson in as our pitch replacement for Plattner. Let's, one step at a time. Nah, it's really fucking grim.
Protesters in Maine are demanding answers after local officials say an immigration agent shot and killed a man in his car. It happened Monday in the city of Biddeford, which is in the southwest part of the state, south of Portland. An immigrant rights group identified the man as a 26-year-old Colombian who was authorized to work in the U.S. and had a social security number. Protests broke out hours after the shooting. It is the second deadly ICE-related shooting in less than a week. On Tuesday, agents shot and killed a Mexican man in Houston. CBS News Homeland Security correspondent Nicole Skanga joins us. What more do we know, Nicole?
Hello, Homeland Security
Lindsay. Let's talk about what we know and what we don't know. The incident happened this morning at around 7 a.m. local in Biddeford, Maine, which is just south of Portland. A 26-year-old Colombian man, as you mentioned, was shot multiple times. Neighbors described him as a good man, as a delivery driver. There is no body cam footage, according to law enforcement sources who tell us that they will be relying on other videos, perhaps put forth by neighbors. It's unclear if there was any dash.
I wonder if there's a reason why we have cops wear a body camera, body cameras. We'll have to source our videos from elsewhere. They wish they happened in some empty parking lot with no coverage.
Cam video there on the vehicles, but again,
they could just lie about
several
it.
Shots heard by witnesses. The Maine Attorney General has stated that the subject tried to flee in the direction of law enforcement officers when shots rang out. It's unclear at this point in time whether the individual was the subject of an ongoing law enforcement operation or if perhaps he was mistook for another target. Take a listen to what Senator...
I still can't reconcile ICE's behavior with the fact that there are so many immigrant or Hispanic officers. You should. The position we're meant to hold, I might remind you, is that a person's race has basically no bearing whatsoever on their personality, behavior, tendencies, or whatever else. That's our position, is that it doesn't matter.
Angus King, independent from Maine, had to say.
That's fine, CBS. Barry Weiss falling asleep at the control room, forgetting to press the button that switches over the feed.
Been given an order to leave the country. He was in a vehicle, pulled out in the vehicle, and the term the secretary used was weaponized the vehicle. He was shot by an ICE agent. The FBI will be leading the investigation because it was a federal operation. But my belief is that our state and local officials should also be kept informed and engaged in the investigation.
And as you heard there, the FBI is the lead on this, but the Maine Office of the Attorney General has said they will launch an independent investigation and look for information to be shared from the federal government. Questions remaining.
How lovely. Yeah, this one's looking pretty bad.
We are getting new details this morning about the young man shot and killed by ICE in Maine. He has been
Really is young man. Jesus, he's a fucking kid.
Identified as 26-year-old Joan Sebastian Guerrero. According to a neighbor, he was a young father who worked hard to provide for his family. Now, the events surrounding the shooting, they are unclear this morning. Very unclear. A doorbell camera captured.
It's really not that unclear. I do think the Trump administration's response to this is heartening somewhat. I mean that in a very cynical way. After Renee Good and Alex Preddy, the approach from the administration was basically just to gloat about it. Like they were essentially just like laughing at their deaths. And that ended up backfiring massively, and they replaced the people involved, at least the people most directly involved, Kristi Noem and Bovino. And since then, they've been quieter on the ICE front. So it seems like the administration understands this is a losing point for them.
Part of the gunfire.
How old is this video? 7 hours ago. We have closer footage than this. If we're going to be working off video footage this old, I don't know what valuable information we're getting off this. Yeah, they mag dump like always.
Is that a car?
So after the shots were fired, presumably, video showed Guerrero's car going around in circles as officers tried to stop it. Another video showed officers pulling his body out of the car. The Department of Homeland Security released a statement saying the officer opened fire, quote, fearing for public safety. Maine Senator Angus King spoke to CNN.
There's a lot of law, John, on police officers shooting at vehicles. And the bottom line is you have to either fear for your own safety or the safety of...
It's also a losing point for Dems that voted to open the government and fund ICE like Haley Stevens. Yes, that is true. That's 100% true. Yeah, absolutely. Or those, the Democrats in the House who voted on that, like, resolution to thank ICE for protecting the country or whatever.
Others. And so far, we haven't seen evidence of that.
All right, let's get right to CNN's Maria Santana, who is in Biddeford, Maine this morning with the very latest new details emerging. But still, Maria, so many questions.
Yeah, that's right, John. And what we do know is that another family...
Like Stevens. Here, hold on. Let's get to the more recent news. ICE pausing traffic stops is actually pretty interesting.
Now is on the 2 fatal shootings by federal immigration officers over the past week. Both incidents involved vehicle stops, and now a source tells CNN's Priscilla Alvarez that ICE will suspend most vehicle stops until further notice. It's a pretty big reversal of their tactics. Let's get straight to Priscilla for more on her reporting. Priscilla.
Well, Dana, this is certainly a significant development in the way that ICE agents carry themselves in their immigration arrests moving forward. Again, for now.
Dems never bent on funding ICE. No, but in a way, praising ICE feels actually worse to me. Like, ICE got their funding anyway, but for a Democrat to just willfully thank ICE and praise their behavior, just absolutely insane. It's like willful subservience to capital, even beyond whatever utility they might derive from continued funding to federal police.
Now, according to a source who I spoke with, there was guidance that was sent out to ICE agents today. This was specific to the Enforcement and Removal Operations Branch. Those are the agents that are charged with the arrest and deportation of undocumented immigrants, essentially telling them to suspend
or just murdering people.
And the initiation of vehicle stops for now. Now, there is an exception for cases where they are executing a criminal warrant, but even in those cases, the guidance says that they are to coordinate with their partners. Now, again, we have been seeing an uptick in vehicle stops in recent months because
what the fuck is this background audio, dog? It's CNN.
To ramp up the number of immigration arrests. And so they have been frequently leaning on these vehicle stops to do so. And of course, what happened last week and what happened this week, last week in Texas, this week in Maine, was that ended with the fatal shooting of 2 individuals, neither of whom was the target of those immigration enforcement operations. So again, we are now learning that there is a change in tactics here moving forward until further notice. Now, a spokesperson for Immigration and Customs Enforcement said the following, quote, "We are always evaluating our procedures to keep our officers safe and criminals off our streets. We will not disclose or discuss law enforcement tactics." Now, I will note that we are learning about more people who are planning to investigate what happened in Maine just yesterday with the death of the 26-year-old Colombian man. The Department of Homeland Security Inspector General plans to investigate, the FBI as well, and now also the Maine Attorney General.
It's a little bit darkly funny that the 2 murders that ICE felt they had the license to gloat over the most were white Americans, and now they've expended their political capital on the issue. So when they murder a Colombian immigrant, now they have to be more deferential, you know? I'm sure they would have preferred it if it had gone the other way, if they had been able to gloat over the murder of immigrants, and then when they got to just shooting like white citizens, they had more like license to be ghoulish.
So many questions here over what unfolded in the moments of that shooting. Surveillance footage up
Not
until
so many
now
questions,
has
no.
shown some of what led up to it, but still a lot of questions, and questions, Jana, that will not be answered by body-worn cameras. The Department of Homeland Security telling me that the agents involved in the Maine shooting, as those involved in Texas, did not have those on their person.
Can I just ask you a question on that before I let you go? Is my memory correct that after Alex Preddy was killed, that then Homeland Security Secretary Kristi Noem said that the practice would be to have agents wearing body cameras?
That's exactly right. She had pledged at the time that they would distribute them nationally. That process has been ongoing, but it has been slow. And so there are multiple regions across the country who do not have, the agents do not have those body-worn cameras. In addition to that, Dana, I will add that the fiscal year 2026 money that was sent by Congress to ICE included $20 million for body-worn cameras. So now they have the resources. The department says the shutdown slowed them down, but officials also tell me this has just been a slow process in getting them out.
Yeah, the shutdown happened, but ICE and law enforcement who deal with Border Patrol and internal surveillance, they have a ton of money, and they had a ton of money, which we'll talk about. According to 10:40 a.m.,
2024, he's less popular than he was now.
Hello.
The entire Democratic plan there, which was complicated for several months by Plattner, is just to make it a referendum on continuing the Trump administration. I think it's notable also Collins has an ad up today noting that she voted against the One Big Beautiful Bill, which included plussed up ICE funding. I don't think that terribly complicates what Democrats are going to try to do there, but this freezes and refocuses that discussion. This is more than politics going on here. I do wonder, outside of Maine and Democratic...
Collins has voted for ICE funding with no reform. Again, in my opinion, pretty bullish that Republican operatives have to lie and pretend that she hasn't. Like, huge signal of defeat and weakness in Maine that their best hope for Collins' victory in Maine, in a purple state, is to run from her record of supporting Trump. It's not making their case any better. This does fuck over Collins quite a bit, for sure. Which, you know, good. This is literally what she voted for. She voted for murder. Domestically and abroad. And I brought this up, too, because I thought maybe some people have short memories. I know I do. Because, like, I feel like I need to be reminded of stuff like this so that I don't feel I'm going crazy. But yes, 75 House Democrats did, in fact, vote for a resolution to, quote, express appreciation for ICE. That is a real thing that happened, yes. Express gratitude. Love our left-wing party? Yeah, you can find some familiar names in the list of Democrats who did this as well. I'm not going to read all these names out loud. That would be like a huge waste of time. But, you know, villains? Yes. Eric Swalwell, Thomas Suozzi, no surprises there. Haley Stevens, Brad Schneider. I said I wasn't going to read everyone's name out loud. Now I'm just reading the names of people who I've mentioned in other contexts, yeah. So all Zionists. I genuinely, I would not be surprised if every single one of the 75 people on this list were, like, Zionists, yeah. Like, literally without exception. The reason why they voted for this is because it was right after, what was it? It was like the Colorado firebombing thing. So it was part of an anti-Semitism resolution. Everyone signed this paper to say, quote, you know, I'm not anti-Semitic, comma, also I love ICE. That kind of deal. Is Collins on this list? This is House Democrats, not Republican senators.